Hello again from Los Angeles, Southern California. Another beautiful day. This is a different story today. We're going to talk about some wineries I visited yesterday. So there's no tasting today. This whole started with this video that Hani made a couple of weeks ago about the own-rooted wines in France of Thierry Germain in the Loire, the Cabernet Franc, and the comparison between the own-rooted and the grafted vines. As you know, this has all to do with the phylloxera that devastated Europe over 120 years ago, and then everything had to be replanted with rootstock coming from the US that was phylloxera resistant. And the funny thing is the US ended up exporting the phylloxera and the cure. I guess we often do that. Anyway, so and now there's an effort to try own-rooted vines and see if there's a significant difference in the taste. There's a lot of theoretical argument about it, about why it should be better and all that kind of stuff, and not enough practical evidence because it's hard to separate all your variables. It could be the weather, it could be the plant, it could be the terroir. They have to be side by side, vinified, planted, vinified, harvested exactly the same way, and nobody's quite done that. There's some people who do both, and then we're going to talk about that. So I've decided to see if we can find some of these similar efforts around here. Turns out in the Santa Ynez Valley, which is a couple hours north from here, and it's a big Syrah and Pinot area. There's been a lot of new stuff going on, new projects, new startups, people focusing on natural wines, a couple of people focusing on own rootstock, and and there's this whole emphasis on freshness, naturalness, whole cluster, early harvesting, no sulfites. So I put up just put up an itinerary, contacted 5 wineries, and I decided to go. So I had a great time yesterday. Picked up a lot of wine, as you can see behind me. Met a lot of people. We're gonna see some pictures. This is basically what you see behind me. This is our bounty, if you want, for the day. We're gonna talk about some of these wines. It started with Tensley, which had the advantage of opening first at 11 a.m. and it's a great winery. So I went there first. I spent some time tasting. They have like their Tensley. They have their Syrah. It's called regular Syrah. They have their Tensley Estate Syrah, and they have their Colson Vineyard Syrah. Amazing wines, all 3 of them. The main one has really a lot of fruit to it. Very easy to drink. Their Tensley, their own estate Syrah that they've had for a long time, the Tensley estate, by Joey Tensley's own estate. It's just much more restraint. You lose some of the fruit, but you get more class, more distinction, a little bit more, very more European, I would say. The Colson Vineyard actually manages to get a bit of both. So it's really a great sort of balance of all the elements that come together, and then gives you something you can enjoy today, but you can also know that there's a promise for the future. They also make these 2 bottlings, BMT and OGT, by the name of 2 of their kids. These are only in magnums, so I got both. And they have also a great assemblage of these 3 vineyards, and they really make a tasted wine, just makes amazing wine. So that was Tensley. And this is all happening, by the way, at the little town called Los Olivos. It's a bit like Woodinville these are the magnums, like Woodinville in Seattle, where it's a very cute little town, full, and the streets are basically full of tasting rooms and little restaurants, beautiful little homes that have been converted. And I think this is what attracts people, because you can do a lot in one day without having to drive to every single vineyard. Next, I visited with Holus Bolus and the Joy Fantastic. The Joy Fantastic is the wine they make under their own name. It's their own vineyard. And Holus Bolus is the wine they make from grapes that they buy from John Sebastiano. Holus Bolus attracted me because they have 2 actually Franc de Pied bottlings. They're Joy Fantastic Syrah, and the Holus Bolus, which is purchased wine Syrah. Now the Holus Bolus Syrah, they also have one that's not Franc de Pied, from the same vineyard. So I tasted both. And that was really the idea, is to taste both. And both were really, really good. 2018 was a great year around here. And then the interesting thing about the Franc de Pied was somehow it had a little bit more personality. It was really engaging. It was talking to you, and I decided that I liked that better. And I can't really quantify it, and maybe it's all in my head, but it was definitely a great bottle of wine. They have another also own rooted, which I bought a lot of, and they have a Pinot Noir that's really just amazingly light, sort of colored, clear, neat, just pure, and then I have some pictures here. This is their list. Just look at that color, and this is obviously the one on your left is the Franc de Pied. I finished that quicker, so maybe that tells you something. And then this is all the wine I bought there. Now, after that, I went to a winery called Barbieri. I didn't buy anything there because their wine is very good, but it's not necessarily special enough that I felt I had to have something right there, and you can find it in the stores. They have also the usual combination of Syrah, Pinot, some mixes. People are starting to mix in Grenache and Syrah. They're doing GM mixes, they're doing GSM mixes, and it's just a great area for experimentation, and people are getting grapes and juice from different people and mixing up what they want. The owner, Paolo Barbieri, was the wine director at Wynn Resorts in Vegas, so we had a 20-25 minute chat about all the wines he's seen and his opinion on all sorts of wine, whether it's Italian, French, Australian. He's seen everything. And it was really fun to have that conversation. Again, one of the things you can do once you're out there and you're trying to meet with people and talking about what they do. After that, I went to Stolpman. Stolpman is it's right here behind me, interesting vineyard because it's well established. They have this traditional line of very high quality Syrah and Pinot Noir, but they started a line called So Fresh, which is, again, what I talked about earlier, focused on really all natural, early harvest, whole cluster, no sulfur, just everything you can throw together in that package, and stuff that you can buy and drink right away. Some of them are aged a little bit longer in natural oak, so maybe they can age a little longer. But I really loved the Syrah So Hot, and I got some of that. And then they have a good website, so you can find a lot of the other stuff on the website. You can also buy it. So I think it's not something that is rare, but I wanted, again, as I said, not to walk out empty-handed and have something I can drink right away and remember these guys by. I have some pictures of some of their other bottles. This is Barbieri's list. But this is, again, their own Stolpman, own rooted stock blend, which was very good. I don't know they don't say exactly what's in the blend, but it's a red blend. And this is the So Hot. And then this is their list. It's a little bit hard to see, but this is the list of all the wines in the So Fresh line. After that, and this is a good picture to remember here, after that, I went to Shokrian. So Babak Shokrian is he was a Hollywood producer. He has some good credits to his name. And maybe, 8-10 years ago, he decided he wanted to make wine. So he came to the region. He bought a vineyard. And there was one that was an old Melville vineyard that was ready to be sold. They had some issues, the Melville family, and they needed to get rid of it. It was a very good vineyard, Verna's vineyard. A lot of people knew it from before. So he bought it and he took it over, and he got some really good help on the winemaking front. He knew, having been in this sort of the Hollywood business, he knew that you had to really get the right team and had to get the right talent so you can make good wine. And he's hard to find. Even his website had crashed many times, so I couldn't get on. I had to call him, and we had a nice chat on the phone. But that made me even more keen to go see him. So I went there, and it was just like this, as you saw in this picture, this orgy of open bottles that I don't know how he keeps track of himself, with different vintages, different flavors of the same wine. I'm going to get back to that. Look at this. And then I don't know how he keeps track. But anyway, he makes really this whole natural wine as well, Pinot, a great Pinot that's maybe he's harvesting it a little bit early, we decided, with some of the other drinkers, because it doesn't give it enough time to develop more character, and that's something that could be fine-tuned in the future. He makes his own version of a Côte Rôtie, like he puts some Viognier with a Syrah, but I felt it was too much Viognier because it had a little bit of that. It was almost starting to taste a little bit sweet, and that's something, I think he's at 12-15%. So I think it's something that could be dialed down. But again, we had a great fun. We really discussed all these wines. He's got several Syrahs, as we said, and then the thing that really took my fancy, so to speak, is this wine that he called the Black Cock. Funny guy. Anyway, it's a French COQ, and it's Syrah sans soufre, so no sulfites, nothing added. Beautiful, fully a whole cluster, beautiful wine. It's got that creaminess that you rarely find in a young Syrah. This was 2018, I think, and I ended up buying a lot of that. I stayed there like, I can't even remember, maybe 3-4 hours. We just had a lot of things to chat about. He's a wonderful guy. He was putting the labels on my bottles because they weren't ready to go yet before I took them out. He reminded me a lot of Mo Ayoub that we talked about many times, and the kind of things he experiments with and the passion he really has for his wine. And you kind of wonder whether it's a passion or a business, because obviously he's so generous with the tasting, with his time, with the anecdotes, and so you really want to support him, and even bought the hat. And so that was a great day. Very highly recommended for people who like traditional wine, and for people who want to experiment, look at what's being done today with experimentation, with new efforts to be more natural and to be more fresh. And these guys are all great startups, and there are others I didn't even have a chance to visit, and maybe next time. So I felt I would want to share this with you folks, and hopefully there's something new here for everyone. Thanks, and next time we'll be with a bottle of wine. See you.